yourself so that, you know, if you've got a question or a comment, please state your name first so we'll know, you know, with just an audio, we won't be able to see a face and a name, so please do that. Bob's got a microphone back there, and if we think we need that, traveling around. And I'm probably going to give mine to Steve because he'll probably have some input on some of the questions. So, do we have any questions? Over here.
What do you plan to do with the old farmer's market space?
Can you state your name first, please?
Marilyn N. I'm from the Muskegon neighborhood.
Okay.
And I wanted to know what you plan to do with the old farmer's market space. Well, we in this group don't necessarily have a plan. Meaning we, the downtown development group. However, this is really coming up, and I feel like now is the time to plan for the old market. And I think we need people who are willing to work on that. Again, some of us have driven down there. I know some of the city commissioners. There is a lot of land down there, and it's a really unique piece of property, and already some interesting ideas are coming up. There's enough property to do more than one thing down there. However, it's my understanding the city is probably going to have a whole nother initiative on how to use that market, that old market, or that land in the future. Can they continue? I mean, people are saying, hey, couldn't we still use the facility that's there? I mean, I don't know why not. I mean, these are the questions that people need to ask and that they need to be answered. And what else can we do on that land? I mean, there's tons of work to be done to make something really cool down there. And to me, hopefully somebody's going to step forward and get a group together to do that, because it would be nice if we kind of were working, you know, simultaneously during this whole process.
Lowel Kirksey, 1329 4th Street. I was a former recreation supervisor.
What did you just do?
Also grew up in the neighborhood. I was living here on Walton Street when the old farmer's market was in its old location. I grew up on Walton Street.
You just put something on my glass.
Back in 1968, there was a redevelopment plan for the Smith-Ryerson development. That extended to Green Acres. For those of you who are not familiar with the location of Green Acres, right across the creek was a city park, and that was named Green Acres. And part of the development at the time included the location of the farming market, the nursery, in the plan. It was also a
Sat down and that's all pushed up against me. And then when I started videotaping, he took some garbage stuff and stuck it on myself. I want somebody else to deal with it. When you see security, a guy came over and sat down right next to me and shoved up against me. And now when I started to record Mr. Kirksey here, he took a big gob of some stuff and stuck it on my lens. Now, I don't want to have to deal with this myself. Somebody needs to deal with this guy.
What do you want us to do?
I'm going to move away.
Okay.
I said he came over to sit next to me.
I'll keep an eye. If he comes over, then we'll get somebody here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please.
That goes also engaged. And part of the plan also includes trails in that area. And as a person who lived here in Muskegon, a person who has worked with the city, that has always been something that is important to the Jackson Hill neighborhood, the Angel neighborhood, and the Nelson neighborhood. And the old plans are with the city. I think Brian has those plans. I don't know why they haven't been brought out and discussed at this time, but they are still within the old recreation archives and should be pulled out and reviewed so everybody can take a look at them. As a senior in high school, I was given copies because I was involved in the group that was studying it, and as a high schooler was very interested in what was going on in my community. So I have a copy of my plans. I don't know why I kept them, but Smith-Ryerson is a beautiful green space, and my concern is that I have a love for the farmers market there, and with the, as you said, Cindy, there's a lot of land there. And I don't know what the intent is. If you got people donating money, I guess that's a positive thing. But I see a lot of potential with the property that's presently there. And again, it was part of the development plan, and I think that should be something that's looked at.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, I have a question. My name is Ray Charles Robeson. I was born and raised in Jackson Hill. I remember the time you're talking about you have a kitchen at the new market. It's a kitchen down at the old market. People don't even realize. It's a restaurant down there. You can turn that to cooking and you want to do down there. You can do whatever you want to do down there at the new market. You can do it down there at the old market. I want to say, you take something out the heart of the community of Jacksonville and you want to rip it from them. What if they got to hold on down there if they lose the market? Can you please answer that? You know, that's all they got. That's all they talk about on Jacksonville. We do have something. We don't got nothing but the market on Jackson Hill. So you mean to tell me y'all want to rip something off one community where they're doing something positive down there? All the people come down there on Saturdays, Wednesday to the flea market, you know, but you want to move it somewhere else. You know, y'all the city is making money down there. The vendors come down there. Over 7,000 people come down there probably a week. You know, I don't understand this. Why you want to rip something to hold the community together and relocate it somewhere else?
I mean, I'd love at some point to talk about cities, and we've been talking about from follow-up from the farmers market, getting more involved in the dialogue around cities and what happens to cities over time, what happens to old cities, and why do some cities reinvent themselves and why do some just die.
Hello, my name is Clincy. I'm a Jackson Hill neighborhood resident also. I work with quite a few people here, including Mr. Lowel Kirksey and some of the other officials from the city. Now, I have a couple different questions, but I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible. Number one, as you were talking about, just now as you were talking about the cycle, my understanding was the new farmers market is to make it a stop and stay instead of a stop and go. If that's the case, then you'll have less parking anyway, right? Because it's a stop and stay, so that means that the cycle of cars will stay down there longer. So that means it's less parking than what we have now. And now on the business aspect of it is all these things that as you upscale the market, all these things have a cost to it. Now, what's stopping that cost from going over to the farmers, which go over to the customers? That's the second question. And the third question that I have is, as Mr. Charles Ray said, it's a little bit of an arrogance about coming in and taking something and not thinking about what's being left there. And that's where I feel like the city, and you guys have said it a couple of times, you represent the city, which is hard for me to understand because some chamber, some downtown development. But what is it? The city? Or is it chamber? Or is it downtown development? I don't know. It seems to be a mumbo jumbo of agencies and of people who feel like they have a better understanding of how our neighborhood, how the farmers market that has been working and has been one of the best things to the city has been working, but yet it's so viable that they need to take it downtown. And the spot that you have it in is almost like the old Sears spot. Now, well, I have 3 questions and then I'll come back.
Yeah, that's the first one, yeah.
Okay, I want to answer your first question about having to be a stop and stay. To some degree, you're correct. There's going to be people that stop and socialize. I don't think it's going to get out of hand. I don't think it's going to affect the parking that much. And I think your second question was, sir, the cost. We have tried to anticipate everything in this project that is going to keep it as at ease to keeping it maintenance free. Not requiring a lot of upkeep as far as keeping the area clean, washed down. For those of you that are interested in neighborhoods and flow and traffic and people and
ways to bring people together, and there's books on it, and videos and everything, but we could maybe get together on some of that stuff as this goes down the road.
You didn't ask my third question. The arrogance of developing.
The arrogance. Well, of course, I feel like I'm in it. I don't feel like I'm over it. I feel like I'm in it. So, because we've been working on this, in the revitalization of Muskegon for a long time.
Brian, I mentioned earlier about the advisory committee. We are looking for people to be on that committee, so I'd love to have you on that committee.
Yeah. And we love, because if you are passionate about this kitchen, we need some people that are passionate about the kitchen, which are different people than may be passionate about the market. And so there's going to be more opportunities to talk about these things.
Hi, my name is Gannon, and I work for public health. I'm a health educator, and I wanted to address the issue of the kitchen. I wanted to point out that Muskegon got a really cool grant through the Kellogg Foundation for several mini grants to improve the health of Muskegon. And I worked with Lori, the market manager, to possibly improve the current kitchen, the restaurant that's down there. Lori and I worked really hard. I was pretty passionate about thinking that that might be a cool location to bring in, the health education, the cooking classes, the things that I feel are necessary to educate. You bring people down to the farmer's market, but you also have to show them how to cook these things, right? So we worked pretty hard. Well, the grants, it didn't cover what we wanted as far as the amount that the building was going to take, and we weren't able to secure the funds that we needed to revitalize the building. However, it's a really cool building, and I feel like there possibly could still be a lot of potential. Believe me, I was all over Lori about it a lot. I really wanted it to go. However, the idea of an incubator kitchen, the closest one we have is in Hart, and it's very well used. It is something that has spawned a lot of cottage industry businesses, and I'm not sure if you're aware, but the health department has expanded the amount of dollars that can be used for cottage industry foods, and so they've added a couple $1,000s for things now that you can actually produce. And that being said, it gives a little bit more freedom for people who want to make home-cooked foods. And having that right here in Muskegon, we do have some local people who want to pursue this, who are pursuing it, and this incubator kitchen is a phenomenal idea. And on top of that, being able to teach citizens how to cook. I'm not sure how much, most of you seem like you are over the age of you cook. I'm teaching a generation of people who heat and serve, and they think, eating mac and cheese is cooking. And so I'm trying to change that concept. And we have a huge obesity problem in this city. I mean, we're rated at the very bottom in the state of Michigan. I mean, we're trying to combat that. So on top of a lot of other issues, the market, to me, the walking issue, that's a positive. I know for certain people, for elderly or disabled, yes, that is something that needs to be addressed. And as a health department, we want to work on all aspects to make sure that everyone can safely and effectively get to the market. But for able-bodied people, we want to make sure that you can get to the market, and maybe walking that one time a week might be able to help you, be a little bit healthier, and it might be a positive. So on top of the incubator kitchen and being, healthy and using the facilities that we have and possibly, producing more business, I think there's several positives that maybe possibly haven't been addressed. So.
My name is Roman Scott. I'm just wondering, it seems to me the last 2 or 3 years I've heard this idea come up over and over again, and citizens in the county of Muskegon have consistently rejected moving it. wonder why is it that this keeps coming up every year, and you know, and it's being brought back up by the city commission or some department down there. And if the citizens have already spoken on it, why do we have to keep fighting this every year? I don't think it's a good idea. I like it where it's at. Most people in Muskegon know where it is right now. And if you got all this extra money, why don't you take part of that money and do something with it? You know, revitalize it, or renew it down there, and use the rest of the money to do something else.
Yay!
To me, that would be something to do like that. It seems like people today, I've been kind of keeping up with this over the years, and I'm part of the black community. And I read today's paper where we got a commissioner who is a white guy that says it's a racial thing. And I haven't heard anyone in my neighborhood that I talked to about this mention anything about race at all. So I wonder how this guy can bring it up. That's another thing I want to bring up. Also, well, I'm going to leave it at that. But I really can't understand why every year, I hope you can answer that question to me, why the citizens have not been heard in this county.
I think this is the first time we have gotten some momentum behind the farmers' move. But I think it's hard. I know when you live here every day, it's hard, you know, to see what's happening and what has happened. But I'm one of the people that has to bring the outsiders in. And I just had a guy last week in my office, which is at the corner of 3rd and Western, you know where that is. And he's in my office, he said, "Where is your downtown?"
Yes, my name is Gary Marchito. They got the property. They need to put some money into it, expand what the parking down there. They park 15 to 20 cars in that parking lot every Saturday because there's not enough parking. But yet the property is there. You know, like I said, with him, he said he hit it on the head. Take some money and improve what we got. Why waste prime property downtown for a farmer's market? You know, farmers markets are kind of a gotta-do community thing. Just like a city dump. You would put the city dump downtown. Well, why put the farmers market? It's fine where it's at. Expand.
You know what? I was hesitant because going to pull me back, but this is about the city. And, you know, so, like I said, this is a conversation for future meetings.
My name is Joshua Eldenbrady. I live at 1336 Spring Street on the far east side of the McLaughlin neighborhood. And I have a few concerns and a question, so I'm going to go through the concerns first and then get to the question. First, you know, I hear you talking tonight, and the part of the video I saw last night with the city about how there'll be some extra revenue, which will cover the extra cost of the electrical. But I'm also hearing we're going to go from 3 days to 6 or 7 days, and we're going to have the indoor, and we're going to have the community kitchen. Those things cost extra to run. And as appreciative as I am of the fact that we have donors who want to pay to build this, the maintenance is going to come from us, either as customers or as taxpayers. One of the two. Second concern is parking. And I look at a hypothetical. Let's say I live in an area where I could do duplexes and I wanted to add a second apartment off the back of my house. And I go to the city with the plans and they say, well, where are you going to put the extra parking? And I say, well, all my neighbors have nice big driveways, so there's plenty of parking. They laugh at me. And that's what you're saying right here. You're saying Baker College has plenty of parking, and Terrace Plaza has plenty of parking, and the bus station has plenty of parking, so we have plenty of parking. And unless you have permission in writing from those three owners, commitment that that parking is going to be available, it's wrong ethically, it's wrong legally for you to represent that parking is going to be available. My wife and I own a property that's getting used by the neighbor because way back when somebody said, oh, there's a spot next door to park, we can just use that. We got to deal with that. Someday one of those three users is going to want to do an expansion of their own, and that parking is not going to be available anymore. And we have to be prepared for that. Number three, you talked about this being a regional market. I know Vice Mayor Spataro made the same comment at the commission meeting. Maybe it was, yeah, at the commission meeting in his comments last week. And it is a regional market. We do have a lot of customer base outside. Our region is growing, and part of the push to get this downtown is to help downtown to grow. Right now where we are, we have room that we could triple the amount of covered stalls on that lot and add parking off to the northeast. We have room to grow as the region grows. What I'm seeing here is we add 20%, 25%, which is nice. It's nice to be bigger than what we have, but we're landlocking ourselves. We can't grow with the region because we don't have space to grow with the region. And the third thing, and I think this is where the comment about the race issue came in. I look at the development that has happened downtown, the development that's been pushed downtown. We have a development going on right now behind Merrick for new housing starting in the low 200s. We have artisan shops downtown. We have an art gallery downtown. We have these microbreweries downtown. These are all businesses. These are all housing developments which push for an influx of middle and upper middle class residents and customers. My census block that I live in has a median household income of $16,000 a year. The census block to my north, the north end of the McLaughlin neighborhood, has a median household income of $7,000 a year. I don't feel, when I see all the development pushes that happen downtown, I don't feel wanted downtown. That's not because of race, that's because of income. And they're linked. The people who have the money to shop in the artisan shops, the people who have the money to buy $250,000 houses on the lakefront, the people who have been, by and large, catered to and that have been tried to be attracted by the proposals that are happening downtown by the customers, or as customers, the businesses that have been happening downtown are upper middle class, and in this region, those customers are almost 100% white. And I'm not saying that's intentional, but that's where that feeling comes from. We've been told that people who make the amount of money that we make, that the businesses that we need, are not what's wanted downtown. And now I'll get to the question. And this is a quick question. I love the community kitchen idea. I agree with the comments that were made about that. It's wonderful. But I haven't heard anything about how that's going to be funded, about who's going to run that, or about what kind of policies are going to be put in place, hours, access, who gets to use it, what it costs, what's involved, to make sure to know that as the taxpayer that's going to be paying to maintain this thing, that myself and the residents of my community are actually going to have meaningful access to it. So I'd like to know, has any planning been done on the maintenance and operation and how that's going to be done?
Yeah, just partially. I mean, I think people, we are getting people in on the front end. I mean, we had to draw these pictures so that people could see what the vision was and what it was going to be like. And you're in on the front end, okay? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of details that we want to work out over the next 6 to 9 months and to get this thing solidified.
I think my main question is, I know that you say your role is not what happens at Yuba. However, I truly believe that all three of you up there need to take on a part of that role. And somebody needs to be the leader with that. I don't want to see the market move, but I'm a realist. I have a feeling it's going to be. So let's have open conversation with the residents of Jackson Hill. Let's set up a committee for the residents of Jackson Hill so they can be part of the planning on what happens at Yuba. And I'm recommending it maintain as a flea market if they decide. Because if we leave the flea market at Yuba, there's an overflow. We can run the trolley back and forth between Yuba and the farmer's market, have a Saturday market and a Wednesday market at Yuba Street. But that's only if the Jackson Hill residents would accept that. We have got to include them because fractured communities, you're taking something away. And Jackson Hill has come so far in the last 20 years, if you're not aware, how hard they have worked. Their neighborhood is so wonderful now, where there used to be crime and so much going on. We have got to support them. So I really think one of you up there need to start that, because we don't know how. If you have the power to come up with all this, you have the power to form a committee, start working with the Jackson Hill residents on, if the vote is yes, what are we going to put on Yuba Street? That's it. That's good, thank you.
My name is Nell Williamson, and I'm from the Angel neighborhood. Now, you made a comment about vision, okay? I have lots of vision for downtown, okay? I remember when we first came here, there was Occidental Hotel, and there was a nice downtown. I don't know of any city that does not have a downtown. Okay, even if you go to a little small city, they have a general store, okay? I never knew a city that would have a sign when you come into Seaway Drive and it says downtown, and when you get downtown, it's just empty lots. Okay, that's not a downtown. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting building up a farmer's market. Personally, I think that where the farmer's market is, I think there's enough property down there, you can build it up. See, the problem is that people want to use up a lot of land and spread out, but you know, you can build it out, build it up, and you can have where the trucks do whatever, and you can build it up, and you can utilize other things besides just that. You can, you're not 2 for 1, okay? Other things could be upstairs, and the farmer's market could be below. And you're talking about building it down on the Sears area. Now, when I think about downtown, I don't think about the farmer's market. Okay, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But I think about stores. When I go downtown, I don't want to next to go downtown for a farmer's market. I go to a grocery store. Okay, and there are places around town that sell vegetables, you know, but you can have a farmer's market where the farmer's market is. But you need to build up your downtown. You need buildings and stores where you can go shopping. I do not live in Fruitport. Okay, the mall, you have the mall out there, and you have a little strip malls. You need to build up the downtown. Why are you concentrating on the farmer's market? You need to concentrate on bringing stores down there and building up the downtown. And we start looking like a city. And I don't mean spread it out. I mean things that kind of go up in the air that make us look like we're a city.
That's right.
Okay? So therefore, you need to talk about coming up into the whatever and future for our children. Well, let's get vision and let's get a future for our children. And as far as the city commission, you can go down to the public library. They used to have it upstairs, but they moved it down in the basement off into a room and you have to ask one of the ladies, okay? They have all kinds of studies that they have done on Muskegon. Now, you know that I'm telling the truth. What happened to those studies? They're back in that room collecting dust. Nothing ever visualized. You know, they spent money, they got together, they had, you say, well, anybody want to be on the committee? They had committees that did this and did that, and what did we end up? With nothing downtown. So therefore, we need to talk about vision. We need to have a real vision and bring back our downtown. And like I said, if you want to include a farmer's market, that's fine. But we need to include some buildings, some stores, where people are down there spending money. Money, because the city needs money. We need money. We need people to come into it. Okay, you have, sometimes in the farmer's market, you have plays and different things, activities at the farmer's market. But after the play thing is over with, what you have downtown. So, but you bring it up a farmer's market.
You are right on it.
But the farmer's market, late at night, the farmer's market is not going to satisfy everyone.
And here's how it works. Right now, we got people looking at downtown, okay, but they're looking downtown and they're not seeing any people, and they're not willing to sign on the dotted line, okay. However, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get the market downtown, and you know what? There's going to be people downtown, and then when the retailer walks through, he goes, "Sign me up." The whole goal is
is to get retail downtown. That's where we're going. That farmers market downtown. Get from down where it was for I don't know how long. I went going to the city commissioners meeting and stood up and spoke about the farmers market. Okay, you've been trying to do that forever. Now, I worked in Lansing at that time when I was there, I worked for the state, and the downtown was dead. They started revitalizing the downtown. Even you spoke about Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids downtown had died. They started building it up. Okay, I would like for you to have a meeting and come here to wherever you're going to have your meetings at and bring the people of Muskegon and about less building Muskegon back up. Okay, farmers market is just that. It's a farmers market. It's not a downtown. You might add it to that being a part of the downtown, but it's not the downtown. And that would not attract me to go any place because they about the farmers market. I would go out to Fruit Park to a farmers market. Okay, that doesn't make any sense to me because we want a city to look like a city. Okay, a small city, but we want it to look like a city. We want buildings down there. We want stores down there. Right. Okay, that's what, and you know, like when you did the farmers market, and I remember the city, what they did was, you remember when, those of you who are old enough to know, when you go out on Yuba Street, and you go down a little ways, and you could go across the street, and go back up if you wanted to. But then when they changed the street, the Seaway Drive part of it, they cut it off where you would have to either go all the way down to Marquette, turn the light, and then go back up. I went to city commission meeting and spoke about that too. But let's get serious. If you really want a downtown, let's start with the downtown. And I mean buildings.
Yay. Yay.
I'm Borgman. I'm a downtown resident. I think, you know, Josh, to address your concern about bringing people with money down here, thank God we're starting to do that because it's somebody like me that's not going to bring the money down here. We have to get to a point where we bring money in that's going to bring revenue so we can have money to do things and pay for services. We do not have that right now. Additionally, I serve on some committees that help. I'm on the Muskegon Retail Incubator Board, and what we're trying to do is come up with ideas to bring the critical mass downtown that we need and build synergy. This is all going to do that, and once this happens, and I'm counting on it, it will make all sorts, it will send us all sorts of blessings. But we need to start thinking up and not thinking about how we can cater always to somebody. I mean, I'm a social worker. I'm not bringing any money to this town. We've got to get some folks here that are going to bring in some money.
Well, I spoke likely on the same subject I'm going to speak on right now, last night, and that is about white privilege and development in our downtown area. Can anybody point to one location in all of the development that's taken place within downtown proper where you see people of color congregating? Is there anything down there that's utilized by community? You can. And in addition, you know, it's not a gift horse. It may be a crown for your downtown, but these outlying communities are not your treasure chest as developers. I'm also concerned with the funding mechanism for this entire development, which people keep saying, private donation, private donation, private donation. How many nonprofits through the Community Foundation are involved with this? And where does their pocket come from, if not the need that's already in the communities that you intend to take these assets from? The prospect of a functional kitchen, that was brought in front of many nonprofits over the past 10 years for development for the people, by the people. Can we get a small mini grant? Can we get a piece of what comes in as far as nonprofit monies into this community? No, not for 10 years. Completely starved out. Those are the same nonprofits that are being viewed as private donators for this project that removes a community asset. And the person from the health department who will be involved in the, and spoke earlier, I would love to have a moment to communicate with them about why now. Why the great starvation of these inner communities, the removal of all of their social hubs, right down to their last, grain of corn. you are going to take from these communities, and, you know, it's a gift horse. Recognize what it is that you're asking a community to sacrifice for the development of your business interests. Also, the divisive nature of the nonprofits who prosper and profit off of the need that's created in their wake. So here's another example of where you'll be left with an empty location inside of each community. What about these people's ability to sell their homes, those that have them left? What about the carnivorous nature of these nonprofits buying up $500,000 worth of housing inside of these communities with no relief for the communities? Just fake fronts, something that looks good, an image. You have the image of a hoop house operation that provides food. You have a lot of imagery, but no substance and no sustenance for this community. So rather than always working towards a future good and an imagined future, the realities of what is taking place in this community right now, that segregate this community right now, deserve ownership. Don't outrun it. Be honest about who's paying for this development and how they got their money to do it. Because the nonprofits make their money off the need that's in this community, and by sustaining it and not giving any relief. No real relief. Momentary relief. And then, just like this event right here, this will be used to kettle discontent, to make people feel effective in their destiny as a community. Will you be heard? Will your ideas, the same ideas that have been brought forward for 10, 15 years, to meet the same needs that you're going to do in the stroke of a pen, you're going to be able to develop a community kitchen. I know people who have worked for years to create these kind of access points with the same nonprofits that are going to fund these projects. I think that that's unethical, and I think that it shows our glaring flaw in this community. And I want it addressed. And I've said this 5 times now. How do you feel about taking from a group of people who have so very little to edify and to build for those who have so much?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kathleen Rigger. I'm a cheese lady downtown. And 5 years ago, I started a small store in a little bit of place because it was cheap and I could afford it. And it worked. I was lucky enough to have support from the community. And my community is not just the people who come in from outside. My community is people from the neighborhood sometimes, because everybody decides sometimes that they'd like a little bit of cheese. I've been down there for 5 years. I now live downtown. I'm probably the only one in this group. My husband and I live behind the store, where we actually I go to the market. I have a store downtown. And I live downtown. I'm a Jackson Hill person. I voted at Smith Ryerson. I am all alone down there, quite honestly. I don't have a lot of neighbors. Gary moved in down the road. I'm excited to see the apartments come in. But for 5 years, it has been very, very, very quiet downtown. And we have done good business. I would like to see some stores built up. I'd love to see them, but the cost of building new construction is huge. It's monstrous. The only way we're going to get new buildings downtown is to show that we have bodies downtown, and we don't. I hope that this new market doesn't strip Jackson Hill, because I think that there's things that can be done down there. I actually think that it's a perfect place for the flea market to do 2-3 times a week and tie right into the farmer's market. And I think that you would have other things that happen down there. But I also think that when there's people that are downtown, that the developers from outside will see the potential and be willing to put their money there. I also hope, because we're so alone down there, that there's people downtown. I think that the farmers market and traditionally markets bring people from all parts of life. They bring the people from outside, they bring the farmers, they bring the cities. In the old European towns, everybody came to market. That was where you rubbed shoulders. People with money, people without money, people of color, people, everybody, white people, dark people, everybody was rubbing shoulders. I think that the market could be a really good thing to bring a city together instead of separate the city. We need to work together. If we don't have the neighborhoods as part of our downtown, we're going to have problems being some little island in the middle of a city. It can't work that way. And if we have the indoor market, we have some sense of a grocery store that everybody thinks that we ought to have. I buy my groceries at Benson's, but it only goes so far. And you can only buy bananas and lettuce. And so, I mean, and I buy my groceries when I can at Benson's. I think Benson's is great. But if you had a produce person downtown, what if the fishmonger could come make a winter presents? What if a meat man, I mean, I'm just holding my breath for a meat market right now. Because I think it's time to have a decent meat market back downtown. I think that the time has come for us to take a leap of faith and let this thing just happen and not hurt people. So put the pieces together. See if we can't become a community, not a separated community. Let's rub shoulders. Let's welcome everybody into our new market and make it what it really could be.
My name is Pat Camp, and we live in downtown Muskegon. And we're on fixed income, so I understand what the gentleman was saying about income, and I understand very much about how the Jackson Hill people feel. It reminds me of when Mercy Hospital bought Hackley Hospital, because I'm a nurse and I work there. And it's very difficult to look at change. And I think that's what our community is going through. We purchased a place in the Watermark, and it's not what we thought it would be, because there has not been any increased development. And so we're very disappointed also. And we would like to see more and more growth, because it brings additional value to our properties. It brings additional income to people who can pick up jobs instead of empty, vacant factory buildings with the windows broken out. It's very difficult to live there with industry and semi-trucks going back and forth in front of your house. It's not what you thought you were going to have as a retirement home. But at any rate, I understand the difficulty of change, and that's what we're all facing. I agree with so many people here in what the terms that they have used. And the cheese lady's right. We have to be a community together. That's the only way we can succeed. And this is an opportunity. It should be looked at as an opportunity that we can all get behind and somehow do a little part in it. Even if we don't necessarily like it in the beginning, we may love it in the end.
Thanks. When I hear people come into my community and talk about what's best for it, I really feel that comment about arrogance. I was raised in Muskegon. My name's Faith Gruesbeck. I grew up in East Muskegon in the Sheldon Park neighborhood. Even this division in terms of neighborhood, my neighborhood was Nelson neighborhood, and then they put in a highway, and now I'm blocked off from downtown. I live downtown. So we may be separate neighborhoods, but I live downtown. And when people from outside the community come in and try to dictate change, it's easy to forget that this is all taking place in a historical context of, you say a lot, you talk a lot about people not being comfortable with change. To me, this is what's been going on for decades. It's exactly the same. Nothing has changed. Talking about highway projects that cut off communities, schools being shut down, the demolition of the original downtown to put in the mall that was then stolen by the suburbs. I wonder if we can go and get it back. We've got a good spot for it right downtown. I do have one question. When do we get to show the community's plan to renovate the present market, the fundraising plan to fill the gap for the grant that public health got, the new technology that's going to benefit the community, the Yuba Street business corridor, rerouting traffic to make the present market more accessible, all of these things that are going to be a lot cheaper than the plan that's being proposed now. I mean, there's all this talk about sustainability in Muskegon. How sustainable is it to take something so successful and move it 3 blocks from where it presently is? That is not sustainability. That's a really poor choice. And we have a lot of poor choices to regret in Muskegon about things being ripped up and taken down to benefit certain people. And that's not change. It's more of the same. Maybe you can answer the question of the community plan to renovate the present market. Thanks.
Yay!
Hello, my name is Jon McEwen, and I'm the general manager of Muskegon Born Business. I've seen the plans of all this, but I have a relation. A town in Indiana did the exact same thing that you guys are proposing to do. They spent $2 million and they built this big, luxurious market in order to, bring in more bodies and increase the revenue of the town. But the only problem was they built this $2 million market and the rent for the farmers went up. So what did they do? They stopped paying the vendors' prices to come to this market. Now, you guys are proposing to build anywhere between a $4 and a $9 million project to put down here. Now, as a potential vendor, because where I work, we've talked about buying space in the new market if it goes up. But we're not going to do it if the price is too much. So are you guys at all concerned about what's this going to cost to your farmers and whether they're going to go away? Because if you don't have any farmers to run a farmer's market, how are you going to get people to come and buy stuff from farmers that don't even exist at a market?
And that's an excellent question, because that was one of the things that we were challenged is, can you do this and hand it over with no debt? Because some of these communities have taken out huge loans to build these markets, and that's why they're passing on the cost of those loans to the vendors. And that's exactly what you're right. Then it was passed on. So we're trying there's not going to be one loan on this thing. It's all going to be donated, all of it.
Okay, I understand that all the money can be donated. So technically, you're going to hand it over with no cost to the city to pay for it. But each boot's going to have electricity, each boot's going to have water.
you're going to have all this grid stuff around that's going to have to be maintained. I mean, I know you talk about low maintenance, you got Wi-Fi, you got all this electricity. Who's going to pay for that?
Well, and that's part of what this next step is there does have to be a business plan. We have some sketchy business plans to see how this is going to run, but we have to nail it down. We need to, because there will be, like Steve said, fees for renting this part. Those are new income. There may be some special vendor stations that cost more than the standard vendor stations. All of that is going to be worked out.
We'll take one more.
Hi, good evening. My name is Charlote Johnson. And about 5 months ago, I went to the community room at our beautiful fire station. And I asked them about having an event in this community room. And I was told that this community room is not for community. And so I would say, if you're going to have a community kitchen to make sure that people don't have to experience the same experience that I experienced, and don't just use names. The last comment that I would like to make, I'm sorry, I stay in McLaughlin neighborhood. The McLaughlin neighborhood suffered a great loss. So I can feel the pain of people as they speak. I can feel that loss. I can feel it and it's real. I can feel that hurt that people are going through. So I ask you, even though as you look at your plans and you say that it's going to revitalize, it's still going to hurt. And so my question to you would be, how do we deal with the hurt that this community is going to feel? That would be my question, and I would like that addressed.
Thank you.
That's a great question, and we're taking that input in because I think that is I think that's something I'm guessing our city is hearing loud and clear we can't just work on one without working on the other. I mean, that's what I'm hearing loud and clear. You can't just go with one without working on the other.
Well, we're going to wrap up. We'll stay and talk one-on-one if you want to come up and, continue the conversation. It is 8:10. So you're welcome to come up and share any more thoughts or additional thoughts that you might